The Raiders have made a smart hire, and he is not a head coach, general manager, or quarterback, but someone who is going to help Mark Davis and Tom Brady make big decisions about the next head coach and general manager. Today, I'm breaking down who Jed Hughes is and why his hiring could be a game changer for the Raiders. Could his hiring be connected to the firing of Tom Telesco? And what does it reveal about the direction the Raiders are heading next? Stick around, because I'm going to break down all the key details, explain how Hughes has shaped winning organizations, and why this could finally bring some stability to a team that desperately needs it. If you're a true supporter of the Silver and Black, you'll want to hear this. What's up, buddies? Welcome back. If you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We cover all AFC West news here on this channel. This news originally came from CBS's Jonathan Jones early this morning. According to Jones, in addition to Tom Brady having a significant voice in the Raiders' decisions, the team has contracted Jed Hughes of Korn Ferry to assist in their head coach and general manager search. Hughes is widely recognized as a top executive headhunter in the NFL. This is significant because Mark Davis has a history of listening closely to certain voices when making big decisions. We've already seen him taking advice from Tom Brady, and Brady is expected to have significant influence over the direction of the team moving forward. Now, let's take a step back and break down how the Raiders got here. Mark Davis has a history of leaning on key advisors during major hiring decisions. One of the most influential voices in the last round of hires, which led to the appointments of Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, was Ken Herock. Looking back, it's clear that the decision didn't work out as hoped. That's why it's encouraging to see Davis shifting direction this time by bringing in Jed Hughes instead. Right now, the two most influential voices guiding Mark Davis are Hughes and Tom Brady, which suggests the organization is taking a different, more strategic approach. It's a positive sign that Davis appears to be learning from past mistakes. Hughes comes with a strong reputation, and by the end of this breakdown, you'll probably feel the same way. Credit where it's due for both Mark Davis and Tom Brady for involving someone with this level of experience. So, who exactly is Jed Hughes? He's currently the vice chairman of Korn Ferry, operating out of the firm's New York office. Hughes has made a name for himself as an expert in identifying, assessing, and developing leadership talent. His background in professional and collegiate athletics is extensive, with over 20 years of coaching experience across both levels. He worked under 5 Hall of Fame coaches, giving him rare insight into elite leadership structure. His impact on the hiring world speaks volume. Hughes played a key role in the Chiefs' hiring of Andy Reid, the Seahawks' landing of GM John Schneider and head coach Pete Carroll, and Michigan's recruitment of Jim Harbaugh. Beyond football, he's also had success consulting for MLB, NBA, and college programs. The common thread? Successful organizations repeatedly turn to Hughes when building strong, winning structures. The fact that multiple top-tier teams have trusted Hughes' expertise underscores his value. His influence on the Raiders' current process could be pivotal in reshaping the franchise. I'll break down what he specifically looks for when hiring a general manager and head coach shortly. This next part is going to paint a pretty clear picture, especially for fans frustrated with the constant cycle of hiring and firing without real progress. The Raiders bringing in Jed Hughes signals a focus on stability and long-term success. Everything he stands for, everything he prioritizes in leadership, and the standards he sets for his clients align with the goal of building a sustainable, winning culture. Now, let's dive into the core principles Hughes values when evaluating top candidates. The focus for the Raiders moving forward with Jed Hughes is clear: getting everyone on the same page. I'll explain exactly what that means in a moment. Now, shifting back to the key point. What does Hughes look for in a head coach or general manager? I found a quote from him back in 2016 that really sums up his approach. Hughes explained that the first step in the hiring process is achieving alignment across the organization. Before even considering candidates, the entire leadership structure needs to be clear on what they're looking for in their next coach or GM. Once that alignment is established, they begin identifying candidates who fit the organization's goals and culture. This philosophy is exactly what the Raiders have been missing in recent years. The constant turnover in leadership has often felt reactive, not strategic. Hughes' process brings a much-needed level of structure and clarity. Now, depending on whether it's an NFL team or a college program, Hughes adjusts his criteria, but the core idea remains the same: a unified vision before making any hires. This could be a turning point for the Raiders if they fully commit to this method. Hughes' track record speaks for itself, and his involvement could be the step toward long-term stability the franchise has been searching for. When it comes to hiring decisions, Hughes emphasizes that the process involves not just identifying candidates, but also securing permission to interview them when required. Once that hurdle is cleared, the evaluation phase begins. Hughes has a few core beliefs about what makes a successful NFL general manager. He's quoted as saying, "Great GMS are not born, they're made." That statement underscores his philosophy that leadership qualities can be developed over time rather than being an innate talent. Another critical point Hughes stresses is stability, something the Raiders have struggled with in recent years. In a 2016 interview, he pointed out that nearly every major sports championship over the previous 5 years was won by a first-time general manager. Only two exceptions existed. That could provide insight into why Tom Telesco was let go. Clearly, Hughes values fresh leadership with the potential to grow into the role rather than hiring from a pool of recycled candidates. Hughes also discussed the importance of the hiring order, whether the GM or head coach should be hired first. He highlighted examples like Greg Popovich being the dominant figure before R.C. Buford became GM for the Spurs, and Pat Riley leading Miami before Eric Spoelstra took over as head coach. While the standard approach often involves hiring a GM first, Hughes acknowledged exceptions, such as the Patriots, where Bill Belichick operates with full control. The concept of stability ties back to how successful organizations are built. Hughes referenced the Mets under Sandy Alderson, who, despite initial struggles, was able to create a competitive team by building a long-term structure instead of chasing quick fixes. Alderson prioritized collaboration and consistency, creating an environment where the entire leadership team was on the same page. This philosophy highlights a critical point for Mark Davis. Most successful organizations don't aim for instant results by patching over problems with quick hires. Instead, they build from within, developing long-term stability. Unfortunately, Davis has often taken the opposite approach, trying to speed up success by making reactionary hires. He did it with John Gruden, then Josh McDaniels, thinking that plugging in big names would instantly fix the franchise. But as Hughes points out, sustainable success takes more than quick patches. It requires a solid foundation. Tom Brady understands that quick fixes don't build winning teams. He knows lasting success requires stability and getting everyone in the organization on the same page. That's why I've been saying all week, whoever the Raiders bring in as their next head coach and general manager needs to be given time. Unless they completely collapse with back-to-back losing seasons like 0-17 or worse, this next hire should get multiple years to prove themselves. The goal seems clear. Align the entire leadership group with a shared vision for the franchise. After reviewing those quotes from Hughes, my biggest takeaways boil down to two key principles: stability and alignment. Those concepts have been missing for the Raiders in recent years. Just look at the turnover. John Gruden, Mike Mayock, Dave Ziegler, Josh McDaniels, Rich Bisaccia, Antonio Pierce, and now Tom Telesco. Each of these decision makers had different views on building a roster, scouting players, and team strategy. The result? A mismatched collection of players designed for different schemes under multiple coaching staffs. It's like trying to finish a puzzle with pieces from different sets. The final product never comes together properly. Hughes' hiring signals an effort to finally correct this. His belief in first-time general managers finding success is worth noting too. It makes you wonder if his influence was behind the sudden dismissal of Tom Telesco, despite many assuming he would stay. Perhaps Hughes evaluated the situation and made it clear that keeping Telesco, who was tied to the previous regime, would clash with the direction of a new head coach. That also raises speculation about the kind of head coach they're targeting. Could this shift indicate a pursuit of a top-tier coaching candidate? Someone like Ben Johnson would make a lot of sense, given his rising profile and modern offensive approach. Aaron Glenn even declined an interview with the Raiders, possibly because he's already sensing that the Patriots have their next hire lined up. The way New England swiftly moved on from Mayo suggests they already have a plan in place. Another interesting scenario is whether the Raiders are considering giving a coach like Ben Johnson the kind of control Bill Belichick had in New England. Could they be looking at a model where Johnson takes on both head coach and de facto GM roles, working directly with Tom Brady as the key decision maker? It would simplify the power structure, essentially cutting out the middleman while still keeping a collaborative leadership dynamic. Financially, it could make sense too. Mark Davis is already paying former coaches John Gruden, Josh McDaniels, and Antonio Pierce, reportedly around $30 million combined for coaches no longer leading the team. If they decide to skip hiring a separate general manager and let Brady and Johnson share control, it could be a way to balance those costs while still keeping a streamlined decision-making process. The Raiders are clearly making big moves, and Jed Hughes could be the key to finally bringing long-term success to the franchise. But will this new leadership approach finally break the cycle of constant turnover? Or could this be just another short-term fix? Do you think Hughes will help the Raiders turn things around for good? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.